I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Earlier in the day, Fox had on a guest, Mark Thiessen, a former George W. Bush speechwriter and right-wing Fox commentator who essentially said that Donald Trump is not capable of winning in 2024, and he basically called Donald Trump a loser. Donald Trump then responded on his social media platform stating that Fox, quote, sucks. He actually said that on his social media platform. But first, I want to show you what Mark Thiessen said on Fox, where he then promotes Ron DeSantis and says that what's great about Ron DeSantis is his anti-woke policies and how he angers people on the left. And he's also capable of winning. That's how Mark Thiessen promotes Ron DeSantis. Let's play that clip.
He said we got to get rid of the culture of losing in the conservative movement. He's absolutely right. But look, here's the thing. If you look at the 2022 midterms, Dana, there were two types of candidates. There were forward-looking, reform-minded governors who did really, really well. And then there were the populist rabble-rousers who, elated the hearts of the MAGA faithful, but lost a lot of winnable races. And so the hearts of conservatives are with the rabble-rousers, but their minds are with the reform governors. The thing about Ron DeSantis is he's both. He's second to none in taking on wokeness, taking on Disney and all the rest of it. But he's delivered a just tsunami of conservative reform. I mean, just since his election, the most strongest school choice law in the country, protected Second Amendment rights, took on trial lawyers, passed a heartbeat bill, banned ESG investing of state assets, and has pushed back on Disney. I mean, the list of things that he's done is remarkable in just a small period. So he's making a case that you can be both take on wokeness, both take on those fights, but win elections. He won by 20 points in Florida, the best record. He won independents, he won Hispanics, he won women, and also deliver results. You can punch the left and deliver results for the right, and that's possible.
Yeah. New York Times says DeSantis impresses in Iowa, showing up in an absent Trump. Just got a couple seconds here, Mark. Was it that good for the New York Times to write that?
I don't think the New York Times most Republican voters don't care what the New York Times says, and so I don't think that's going to have much impact on the election. But look, it's good. He's showing up. Keep in mind, Donald Trump lost Iowa last time around. If DeSantis can gain some traction in Iowa and win the Iowa caucuses, things could that could give him some momentum going into the rest of the race.
So notice what Mark Thiessen says there about why he's supporting Ron DeSantis. And he says the first reason he wants to support Ron DeSantis are all of those anti-woke policies. He thinks those policies are great, going after the woke, even though Ron DeSantis and really no one on the right wing can even define what woke is. It's a boogeyman that they create and they get angry about. That is what Mark Thiessen says is a great attribute that Ron DeSantis has. The next thing he says is great about Ron DeSantis is that he angers people on the left. Remember, they're not talking about what Ron DeSantis's actual policies are, what he's doing in terms of jobs and healthcare, and if he's actually helping the people of Florida. The focus is that he's making people on the left angry, right? And then the third thing that Mark Thiessen says is that DeSantis is capable of winning, and then he says Trump is a loser. But here's the thing. Fox has spread the big lie that the election was rigged against Donald Trump. So to the Fox viewers and the Trump supporters, they don't believe Donald Trump even lost because Fox engaged in defamatory conduct and lied to its viewers. That is how they've aided and abetted this fascism. Let's take a look at what Donald Trump's response was, though. And immediately, because that's all Donald Trump does all day is watch TV. This is what he said. He goes, "Just watching Fox News, they are so bad," with lots of O's, "just like the globalist Wall Street Journal and the now way down New York Post," all those owned by Rupert Murdoch. "They are desperately pushing De Sanctimonious, who, regardless, is dropping like a rock. He's even down 20 points in Florida, which was third worst in COVID and where I got 1.2 million more votes than he did. Rhino Mark Thiessen, a Bush flunky, is constantly on pushing De Sanctis, giving bad info. even said, I, quote, lost Iowa last time around. I won big. He sucks. And so does Fox News. That is an individual who is running the modern-day Republican Party, whose response to the video of Mark Thiessen was, he sucks and Fox News sucks. That's not a petulant third grader. That is someone who is running the modern-day Republican Party. Wow, have they fallen. Another thing I want to point out in here, in addition to all the other disinformation and just kind of bizarre, deranged stuff, though, is where Donald Trump says, even said, I, quote, lost Iowa last time around. And what he's referring to there is Donald Trump claims that the Iowa primary that he previously lost was rigged by Republicans against him. He's saying that the Republicans rigged it against him and that he won all of the primaries as well. So not just all the other people he accuses of rigging it, he also accuses Republicans of rigging Iowa against him last time. I mean, that is how kind of deranged this individual is. He goes on to say, Fox News is way down in the ratings after firing Tucker Carlson and refusing to fight against a very corrupt and rigged 2020 presidential election, which just cost them plenty of money, prestige, and ratings. They are a far cry from what they used to be. Fox News has become the de sanctimonious network, but it will never work because he doesn't have the goods. Without my endorsement, he was a dead man walking. Even with Fox, he's already pretty close to that again. And again, you see there he leans into the election lies and continues to spread the disinformation that the 2020 election, which was the safest election in American history, that he claims it was rigged, he claims it was corrupt, and those were messages that Fox promoted, the big lie that Fox told with its hosts like Tucker and Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity. So when Fox then has a guest on like Mark Thiessen, who then says Donald Trump is a loser, there is a sense in their viewers, what are you talking about? You told us that this was rigged. By the way, even Ron DeSantis won't reject the notion that the election was rigged. Even Ron DeSantis won't, when asked the most basic question, that do you acknowledge that Trump lost and there wasn't all of this fraud that he's talking about, Ron DeSantis can't say yes to that. He can't acknowledge that Trump lost. He was asked this question today, just after the segment that I just showed you aired. Ron DeSantis was holding a press conference where he was signing into law a new bill that would outlaw DEI initiatives or teaching in public universities. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But when he was asked this question by reporters, do you acknowledge that Trump lost and there wasn't all this fraud that he talks about, Ron DeSantis responded like this. Play this clip.
You said during an event in Iowa over the weekend that the GOP needs to reject a culture of losing. Do you acknowledge that Trump lost and there wasn't all this fraud that he talks about?
Well, I look at the last however many election cycles. 2018, we lost the House. We lost the Senate. 2020, Biden becomes president. We lost the Senate in 2020. Biden becomes president and has done a huge amount of damage. Very unpopular in 2022. And we were supposed to have this big red wave. And other than like Florida and Iowa, I didn't see a red wave across this country. And so I think the party has developed a culture of losing. I think that there's not accountability. And I think in Florida, we really showed what it takes to not just win big, and then deliver big. And ultimately, when you're doing all this, what results are you producing for people? That's really what matters. You can sit there and talk about cable news, social media, all these other things that people are fixated on. And for me, it's like, okay, what's that true north? You obviously got to win, otherwise you don't get a ticket to the dance. But once you do that, how are you going to be able to actually bring about big change to make people's lives better? Next.
That was today, folks. That just happened. It happened right after Donald Trump posted that on his social media platform, right after Fox was out there calling Donald Trump a loser through Mark Thiessen, when Ron DeSantis was asked the question, so is Donald Trump a loser? Did he lose? Do you acknowledge that he lost? DeSantis goes, oh, I just think the party has a culture of losing. He can't even say it. He can't even bring himself to say it. Oh, and by the way, that press conference that he was at, this is from Washington Post. DeSantis signs bill to defund DEI programs at Florida public colleges. This is what it says about DeSantis. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law on Monday that would bar the state's colleges and universities from spending money on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and limit how race can be discussed in many courses. The move comes amid a larger conservative attack. Again, never call this behavior conservative, by the way. Anytime someone says it, let's replace the word. The move comes amid a larger fascist attack on higher education, much better, DEI programs, which DeSantis and others say reinforce racial divisions and promote liberal orthodoxy. Supporters of the program say they are critical to serving the nation's increasingly diverse student populations. What's this gaslight? You want to serve the diverse populations by removing diversity? Quote, if you look at the way this has actually been implemented across the country, DEI is better viewed as standing for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination, DeSantis said at that news conference that I just showed you. The bill will end the whole experiment of DEI in the state of Florida. DeSantis went on to say, Florida's new law prohibits public colleges from spending state or federal money on DEI efforts. The law also forbids public colleges from offering general education courses that are part of a required curriculum for all college students that, quote, distort significant historical events, teach identity politics, or are based on theories that systemic racism, sexism, oppression, or privilege are inherent in the institutions of the United States and were created to maintain social, political, or economic inequities. Oh, by the way, have you seen, while we're on the DeSantis topic, have you seen this video of Jenna Barbie? She is the teacher, first-time teacher. She showed her students a Disney movie, and after showing her students a Disney movie, she's now being investigated by the Florida Department of Education. Have you seen this video? Let me just show you this and watch what happened in her own words. This is the Florida teacher Jenna Barbie, who showed the students a Disney movie, and now she's being investigated for indoctrination. Play this clip.
Hi, my name is Jenna Barbie. I'm the teacher that is under investigation with the Florida Department of Education for indoctrination for showing a Disney movie. I just wanted to come here and tell you my truth, my story about what actually happened. So I'm a first-year teacher and a first-time mom, so needless to say, I've had a lot of learning to do this year. So how the situation came to be, our students had standardized testing all morning. So some students didn't finish. So in the afternoon, part of my students who didn't finish went to a different teacher's classroom, and she split her kids amongst the other 5th grade teachers. So due to the fact that they spent their morning state standardized testing, I had a lot of students not in my room who typically are, and I had another teacher students in my room. I thought it would be a great time to give them a brain break by showing a movie that related to what we were learning about in school. Other 5th grade classes did this as well. So I want to bring up the issue that I'm in trouble for. I was told by every teacher and mentor at our school that our method for approval by administration of showing movies was to have a signed parent permission slip for PG movies. I had that from the beginning of the year. The whole 5th grade team had signed permission slips for PG movies with no objections to specific content. I actually had one student who did have objection to specific content, not showing the Buzz Lightyear movie, but she wasn't in my classroom anymore. So it wasn't a big deal. The reason I was turned in is because one of the split students was a school board member's daughter. That school board member is currently on a rampage to get rid of every form of representation out of our schools. She even spent days this past week going to all the high schools to get rid of anything that had to do with representation whatsoever. She even had admin escort her to a teacher's classroom that had a sticker of a black hand and a white hand holding hands, and the white hand had a different color fingernail for every finger. So the school board member called the Department of Education on me for indoctrination before ever coming to our school to talk with me or admin about the situation. I chose this movie because it relates to our curriculum. Our unit at the time was earth science and ecosystems and how they interact. Plants, humans, animals. So this movie is perfect. My thought process was, what a better way to showcase all these standards, along with huge lessons of overcoming differences, spreading kindness, communication, and chasing your dreams, a lot of which are in our social emotional Florida Best standards as well. Is a character in the movie LGBTQ? Absolutely. Is that why I showed it? No. I have a lot of 5th grade students who have come to me this year, long before showing this movie, talking about how they're part of that community as well. And it's not a big deal to me, so I just said, okay, that's awesome, do you. Not pushing anything, just being accepting. That's what I do. Does that have anything to do with why I showed it? Not in the slightest. The LGBTQ aspect of the movie, they're harmless. It's just a talked about crush, and it's only a couple lines in total scene time of just over 2 minutes. The parents in the movie kiss a lot, and that wasn't even brought up, and that's the issue. I also want to bring up a fact that none of my students cared or batted an eye. They didn't even know this was a big deal until the board member and the state made it a big deal. They're using it against me, saying they're protecting the children and it's for their safety. But what is this actually showing them? Their teacher showed a movie to help them connect to our curriculum and learn some valuable life lessons. But the minor representations that have nothing to do with the movie are such a big deal that now admin is in their room, pulling their teacher out, calling the students one by one down to the office to interrogate them in the middle of my lessons. And now there is an investigator from the Florida Department of Education coming to pull my students out of class again to investigate them individually. And by the way, they don't even have to have a signed parent permission slip for that. Do you know the trauma that is going to cause to some of my students? They are 5th graders. Some of them can barely come up and have a conversation with me and are just getting comfortable with me, and now an investigator is allowed to come and interrogate them? Are you kidding me? What is that showing them? This is the public education system, where students from all backgrounds, cultures, and religions are welcomed and should be celebrated and represented. I am not, and never would indoctrinate anyone to follow my beliefs. I will, however, always be a safe person to come to that spreads the message of kindness, positivity, and compassion for everyone. That is the key to the safety for our children. That is the key message that everyone needs to find in their heart and understand. I was taking stuff off the walls the other day, and I had a student come to me and say, Miss Barbie, why are you doing this? And it's because of the new law that was put out about everything being standards. And I said, well, this is what's happening. And they said, why don't we get a say? That's a good point. Why don't you get a say? If you haven't seen the Disney movie Strange World, I highly recommend it. And for those of you who are throwing hate my way without knowing me or my true intentions, you may learn a thing or two from that movie. Follow your heart. Find the compassion. Find the kindness. It's the key to a better, positive life. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's Ron DeSantis there, fascist Ron DeSantis laughing right there. That's him in Iowa. Folks, this is the state of the modern-day MAGA Republican Party. Very dangerous. We need to call it out. And, Fox enables this. And even when they're going after Trump and they're supporting DeSantis for the policies like I just showed you, which are so anti-American, so cruel, so inhumane, so indecent, so against free speech. Horrific stuff. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your great support. So please hit subscribe. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And also wherever you get audio podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. It is free. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Hit subscribe on YouTube.
Love this video? Then you'll love the MeidasTouch podcast. Listen as my brothers and I break down the latest news and chat with top political leaders on the fastest growing pro-democracy podcast in the world. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Add the MeidasTouch podcast right now wherever you listen to your podcasts.